negotiate, and they have to be tough as nails. And they also have to go with the ups and downs of a traditional business. I mean, every day you wake up with problems. So having him at the helm of Corsair, or responsible. When you get here, you see the enormity of the construction that's going on. And when you go to Finland and see that was a former paper mill. I mean, he bought it from a town where it was basically was in foreclosure, and you just got to go in there and just do all this stuff as a business person to allow us as networkers to then grow the plastic credit side of it with him to provide both capital and marketing. It's a great marriage and
It most
really sets
certainly
us
is.
up for one.
George, I believe Jay is with us. Jay, thank you for joining us this evening.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen.
Yeah, and again, George, appreciate you making the effort to make these arrangements for us this evening. I am recording this call with your permission, of course.
Sure.
I won't be putting this out necessarily into the public domain, but just to simply share with those individuals who weren't able to come and join us on this call tonight. So welcome everyone. My name is Chris Arena, and again, just a warm hello as well to those watching the recording afterwards. As many of you know, Corsair isn't just another project. It's addressing one of the world's most urgent environmental challenges while also creating a unique financial model that allows everyday people to participate in something both meaningful and potentially rewarding. The purpose of this session is simple: to hear directly from the source, from the founder himself, and get a deeper perspective into where Corsair is today, where it's heading, and how we can all continue playing a role in its growth and impact. So, whether you're here live, thank you for joining us, or watching this replay, I hope you find the insights valuable, inspiring, and practical as well as we all continue supporting the Corsair mission. With that said, Jay, can we get started with just a few brief questions, if that's okay?
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us today. So,
Uh,
just with regards to the vision and personal inspiration, Jay, you've been living and breathing this mission now for 5 years, I believe. But in recent months, what would you say in terms of new experiences or feedback have most personally strengthened your conviction that Corsair can truly scale and become a global environmental and financial force?
Well, thank you very much for a great question. I would say that one thing that is definitely very encouraging and again, proving for us on a daily basis that we are on the right track here is a variety of regulations that are coming from different governments around the world. And we have been, since 2020 when we launched Corsair, and from 2021 when we developed and launched CSR Plastic Credit, we have basically been talking about the direction where the world is heading with plastic waste footprint offset requirements and the extended producer responsibility regulations and such. And this year is really now shaping up to be the year of the regulations, where governments from around the world are now doing exactly what we were predicting or saying that's going to happen already several years ago. I'll give you an example, a very practical one from here. If you give me just 1 second, let me share my screen, because I think this is a good example of what is really happening right now.
Yep, go ahead.
So for the ones of you who are new to the topic, so I'll give a little bit of background on this one as well. And I try not to extend my answer for your question, which was a very straightforward question, too much, but to give a little bit of a background for someone who's just joining in. So obviously this has to do a lot with timing, and that's sort of the topic of this call as well. But what we have seen is that the so-called extended producer responsibility programs and regulations are now becoming active all over the world. And these are all more or less related to an agreement that 175 countries have now formed with United Nations in order to start rolling out basically country by country restrictions and regulations where companies that create plastic pollution will now become legally obligated to also clean up that waste. And basically, a number of countries we've seen recently already, there is a law in place in the Philippines, in Indonesia, and now, as an example, I'd like to show you something from South Africa, where companies that are in the plastic manufacturing industry producing different types of plastic packaging that we use on our daily lives are now, according to the new environmental regulations, required to use 75% recycled plastic in the manufacturing of this packaging by the end of this year. And if not, the director or directors of that company could face up to 5 years in jail. So, I mean, it's maybe a little bit an extreme example, but if that doesn't show you where the world is heading, then I don't know what will. And the reality is that there is not enough recycled raw material available. That's the other side of the issue, where these plastic manufacturing companies are now fighting over who gets to, for example, buy our oil. Like, we are living in such an amazing situation. And these are all partial answers to your question, but we are in a situation where still a small company like Corsair, which is, as you can imagine, the size of the oil and gas and chemical industry globally, we're just a drop in the ocean. Even if we see ourselves as a crucially important drop, we're still just a drop in the ocean. But the fact that we have, on a weekly basis, we have the largest oil and gas and petrochemical companies knocking on our door. They are calling us, they are asking to meet with us. And the ones that we collaborate already, like Shell, we have every single Wednesday, 12 o'clock Bangkok time, we have a weekly call with them. And their first question to us every single week is, when can you increase your volume and send us more product? That's what the weekly calls are all about. How quickly can you bring up more production? We want to buy every single liter that you can produce anywhere in the planet. Okay? Why is that? It's because of regulations like this one here in South Africa, which shows that companies are now obligated to use this recycled raw material, which obviously our oil is, and there's not enough of it. The global demand for our type of oil, which we produce from plastic garbage today, is about 100 billion liters a year. That's the global demand. The global production, the output, is less than 40 million liters. So we're looking at this very moment, we're looking at a gap between supply and demand to be from 40 million to 100 billion every single year. And on top of that, this 100 billion as a demand, which is already now stipulated by European Union regulations, this demand is expected to triple over the next 30 years. So, coming back to South Africa and answering your question, finally, is that these companies are now obligated to use this 75% recycled raw material by the end of this year, or potentially face prison time. And because there is not enough recycled plastic feedstock available, this regulation, as set by the article, is expected to significantly boost the demand for plastic credits, as companies that struggle to meet the recycled content requirement can purchase plastic credits to offset their plastic usage by investing into recycling and recovery projects. So, in other words, what it means is that if your company can't meet the recycled content requirement, you can now do that by buying plastic credits. So, why am I even more motivated every single day and more excited about what we're doing? Is because we see, number one, obviously, great progress in our own business, developing these factories, how the Amplivo network is growing globally, more and more and more people like yourself coming involved and joining this amazing journey and mission to clean our planet from plastic pollution, but also to see how the entire world and all of these different organizations are just beautifully aligning to do and support exactly what we are doing and what we've been saying and talking about for the last years. So, it's kind of this could become that massive "I told you so" card. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I don't want to be that guy, but we told you this is what's going to happen, and it's all happening exactly like. So sorry for the long answer,
No,
Chris.
no, no. That's a great answer. The writing's on the wall, and I not only in what you've said, but your enthusiasm, your energy, the leadership obviously that you continue to sustain so that we can follow your lead. That's exactly the answer I wanted to, and I'm sure many of us can agree. We wanted to hear from you, Jay. Thank you so much. Um, so just a next question. If you had to share one thing, Jay, that people often underestimate or misunderstand about the Corsair model, what would you say that would be? Just one thing.
I think something that and something that I would like people to understand better, and this is obviously heavily due to us. We haven't actually really communicated this one in one place at the clearest way, which is something that we will do shortly. We are going to come out in the next couple of weeks. We're going to come out with this. We haven't really got a name for it. Let's call it masterclass or academy or whatever, where basically we're going to pick a topic, and then I will basically just do a video and some slides specifically on that topic, and we'll get everything uploaded to YouTube. So if you're interested about the plastic recycling industry, okay, you can listen to me rant about it for 30 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever, just one topic, right? And then a next one, a next one, a next one. So we'll hopefully have a betterly constructed, simple explanation about what I'm going to talk to you next, also coming out online, which anybody who's really interested of digging deep and really understanding can just listen to that and basically get all those insights. So the area that I'd like to talk more about, and I'd like the people to understand and to answer your question, is really the Corsair buyback program. So, because if you think about it in this way, when we think about the CSR plastic credits, and when I talk about credits, I mean all of them. Now we have the CSR and the CSR25. Next year we're gonna have CSR26. So when we think about those, they are so unique in the space of digital assets, because first of all, every single credit has to be manually created. It's really like that. There has to be an actual physical action taking place of plastic waste being removed from the environment and then being recycled, and then that work to be audited in order for those credits to exist. That's how the CSR25 now functions. Either it comes from the ocean, or it comes from the landfill, or it gets collected from the waste management streams, but there's physical work every time involved. I don't know how many pairs of hands would be in average involved, but there's several steps that people are physically involved on doing that before a token, a CSR plastic credit can enter into circulation. That's the point number one. The point number two is that there is obviously, because of that, there is only a limited amount in circulation. Very important point. It's not unlimited amount. It's only what is actually being produced. Number three, our customers, the Amplivo customers that are coming in to help to make this possible, are really in a key role to finance this transaction. These customers, with their purchase, are making it possible for more and more and more plastic to be removed from the environment. And as a result of that, they now receive those plastic credits. And the customer can then decide to either activate those credits, retire them, and become plastic neutral or offset part of their plastic waste footprint by doing so and get the certificate, or they can go and sell them on the market for the highest bidder. That's basically how it works. Now, who are those highest bidders? Well, relating to your earlier questions, we were saying from 2021 already that eventually it will become a global regulation that if your company produces plastic waste, it is your responsibility to remove from the environment an equal amount. So if you are Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Unilever or whoever, and if your company produces 1 billion kilos of plastic waste because of your packaging every year, you will soon become legally obligated to remove from the environment the same billion kilo of plastic waste. That's it. Now, I'm using Coca-Cola as an example because we all know their products. How is Coca-Cola going to remove 1 billion kilo of plastic waste from the environment? And by the way, their plastic footprint is more than that, like way more than 1 billion. All right. They're one of the biggest polluters in the world. We still give them all the respect. And I don't want to say anything bad about them so that this doesn't necessarily go to their ears. We love Coca-Cola. They're a great company, and they're even greater when they work together with us. Let's leave it to that. But they are being sued by a number of organizations right now, and they have a lot of pressure that they must become sustainable and they must take responsibility of their plastic waste footprint like every other company out there. Okay? So how is Coca-Cola or anybody else like that? How are they going to themselves physically go out and remove billions of kilos of plastic from the environment? There's no way. That's not their business. So what they are doing is they are going to work with companies like Corsair, who are in the business of collecting that plastic from the environment. But Corsair is not going to be the only one to do that. There's going to be a number of companies. So how can they work with multiple companies around the world and do this, and now they want to collect it? It's impossible to manage. That's why the plastic credit is the solution, exactly the way how it's been done with the carbon credits. They are traded. First of all, they are audited and they are supervised, regulated how they are being created, and then they are traded on the open marketplace. Coca-Cola, as a part of this example, or any other company of that matter, can then simply go to the market, buy the credits, and then retire them. They don't even have to call Corsair. They can just go to the marketplace and buy them whenever they want. And it'll take them less than 5 minutes to buy the needed amount of plastic credits to offset any amount of plastic that they want to do that day, and then get the certificate and say, done. Okay. So that's the future. That's where this is going for. And that's why with more and more regulations coming into play, that means that eventually every one of these companies is going to be obligated to do exactly this. And by doing so, they are going to have more and more and more and more demand, which will then be implemented into the plastic credits market. which is very, very, very little circulation already. So when people think about, for example, our operations, you said, oh, is there too many plastic credits out there? No. Listen, let's take an example of our existing partner, Diversey, from the United States, a multi-billion-dollar company that already now started using CSR plastic credit to offset their plastic waste footprint. So as an example of this one, Diversey, as you can read from Wikipedia, does several billion dollars revenue per year. They, a few weeks ago, started using now the CSR plastic credit. And what they did is they made their first product here in Thailand to become plastic neutral. And in order to do that, they removed, together with us from the environment, about 119,000 kilos of plastic waste, which was just one of their about 60 products in Thailand. And as a result of that, Diversey purchased from the exchange, never from Corsair. They purchased from the exchange about 1.1, more than 1 million CSR, an equal amount to what that 119 was, so about 1.2 million. They bought those CSRs from the exchange, and then after retiring them, they were able to get this certificate. Without retiring them, they would never get the certificate. And now this Sumastar D1, which is their famous product in the industry used by Hilton hotels around the world, and basically all the luxury top hotels here in Thailand, as a dishwashing liquid. Now this packaging has been made plastic neutral. And what is being done is that as a part of this collaboration, Diversey's target is eventually to become completely plastic neutral globally. This was more than 1 million CSR for one product in Thailand for 1 year. This company alone is going to need hundreds of millions of plastic credits every single year, which they will buy from the market, and then they will retire them every year. Hundreds of millions, just one firm. Okay, so yeah, think about it. Like that amount doesn't even exist on the exchanges. It's not there. So when these companies are now coming in and they're starting to use this, right now Diversey is doing it voluntarily because they want to be able to show that, hey, we are the good guys. We were here before everybody else had to do it, right? We started doing it before you had to do it. Mm-hmm. That's important marketing for them because they also know that year 2 from now, everybody's going to be doing it. So finally, we get to the question that you asked me, which is this part which people don't necessarily always understand. So now you understand how the creation of the plastic credit happens, how people, your customers from Amplivo, how they are part of creating the plastic credits and how they have the ability to then sell their credits on the open market for the highest bidder, potentially for Diversey or one of the other companies, who, again, are, because of the regulations, obligated to use them. And that's how this all goes around. Now, the part that I would like people to know more, and we're going to educate people more, is the buyback program, because it really is going to play a big part in the future. The way that the buyback program works is that when we built these factories, and when I call a factory, let's define what it means. A standard size Corsair factory is basically a facility sitting on a land plot of about 10,000 square meters, which is capable of recycling more than 12 million kilos of plastic waste per year, 1 million kilo a month, and from that generate more than 10 million liters of pyrolysis oil. So 12 million coming in about 10 million going out. We have existing agreements with some of the largest oil and gas petrochemical companies out there, including Shell. And the market price today for this product that we are selling is approximately $1 per liter. From 1,000 kilos of plastic waste that we take in, we can generate as much as 900 liters of oil. If the plastic is really clean and nice, and we've done a good job of preparing it, 900 liters from 1,000 kilo of plastic, which means that 1,000 kilos of other people's garbage that they paid to get rid of, we can generate $900 out of it. In other places like Europe, in the North America, we even get paid to accept the raw material, which is another great form of revenue. We can actually make as much as $200 per ton just to say, yes, please, bring in the plastic. And it gets delivered to our front door with money on it. I mean, I don't know many other industries where you actually get paid to get your raw material.
No.
And again, on the end of it, this oil, the petrochemical companies like Shell and others are now legally obligated to buy the product. It's absolutely amazing. I'm going really off the tracks over here. We'll just keep on doing it because these are some of the snippets that I think are good for the people. But don't worry, we'll get to the final part in a minute.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Now, as I'm saying that, I just want to drop a couple of more interesting things because, again, this is all part of the first thing I said, the alignment. Just to see how all of these different wheels are turning around us, which all support everything that we're here building. So let me give you an example. Every European Union nation, about 30 of them, including Finland, Germany, France, Italy, you name it, okay? These countries have together committed into certain regulations, which are coming into effect already this year. Number one regulation is that any company that is producing plastics in Europe or selling plastics to Europe is obligated to have at least 30% recycled raw material included in the plastics that are being sold and distributed in Europe. Because of this regulation is why Shell and others are out there looking to buy every liter of this product that meets their quality requirements and certification requirements, like we do at Corsair. Now, if a country like Finland, a small country with 5 million people, the country itself is committed by the end of this year to recycle at least 50% of all of the plastic garbage that is generated inside the country. The same regulation goes to every one of these European Union nation countries. If the country doesn't recycle 100% of its plastic, it is obligated to pay from the taxpayers' money to the European Parliament 800 euros per ton, a penalty for every 1,000 kilo of plastic waste which is not recycled in the country. Everybody understand? So Finland, as of right now, small country with 5 million people, where I'm originally from, is only recycling about 26% of our plastic waste. Therefore, Finland as a country is paying the European Parliament more than 100 million euros a year as a penalty because as a nation, we're not recycling 100% of our plastic waste. So, what I said before, a standard size factory of Corsair is always designed to take in 12 million kilos of plastic a year, which is equal to 12,000 metric tons, out of which we then generate that 10 million liters of oil. Well, let's do the math here. 12,000 tons is what one single standard size Corsair factory is able to process in a year, times 800 euro, which is the price that the amount that the country, Germany, Finland, France, Italy, whatever, is as a country, as a nation, able to save just because we decided to build a plant in their country. That's 9.6 million euros a year. 9.6 million euros is the amount that the taxpayers will save just because Corsair operates in that country. Okay?
Huge.
To build one of these factories would typically cost somewhere between 6 to 8 million euros. And after we invested and built that factory, the taxpayers are saving 9.6 million euros every single year. This is my pitch for the European Union countries, as you might understand. It's like for a country to finance a factory and then get 9.6 million euros saving every year, that's a pretty good return on investment, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, again, you see how these wheels are turning, how now we're talking about how can we help the governments in Europe and other places to actually save money, which they are currently paying out as penalties because they're not recycling 100%. So, finally, only after 40 minutes of talking, we get to answer your second question, the buyback program. Now we have established the framework. You understand what kind of things are happening. We got the oil and gas, the petrochemical companies that are obligated to buy our product. We have the largest corporations in the world that are obligated to use the plastic credits. And on top of that, just by doing what we are doing, we're solving a massive headache for entire countries that will save millions and millions and millions of euros every single year just because we are there doing our work. Now, when we then sell the oil to our off-takers at that average market price of $1 a liter, 10% of that money will go into a buyback program where we at Corsair will place that money into the open markets and buy back CSR plastic credits at any price that anyone is willing to sell. So if we got one factory that generates about $10 million in sales per year, that means that $1 million is going into the buyback. If we got 10 factories doing the same, that means that $10 million a year are going into the buyback. Our target over the next coming 6 to 7 years is to build 100 factories around the world to generate 1 billion liters of oil per year. Okay? This means that if we reach our target, there would be on an annual basis $100 million going into the buyback program. About $10 million every single year, year after year, year after year, where basically we'll take that money and we'll just drop it into the market. And if nobody wants to sell their tokens back for less than 30 cents, we'll pay 40. If you don't want to sell it for less than a dollar, we'll pay $2. If you don't want to sell it for less than $10, we'll pay 20. If you don't want to sell less than 100, we'll pay you 200. But we are going to spend that money every single month to buy back as many tokens from that already restricted and limited circulation, which is made smaller and smaller and smaller every single time when one of these major corporations that are legally obligated to use the plastic credits buys them and retires them. So you can all understand there's a limited circulation. And every single day is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And with more and more and more demand and pressure coming in, it's only going to keep on pushing the price higher. And that's why every single time when you hear a new Corsair machine being launched somewhere, it's time for celebration.
Get excited.
When you hear a new factory being opened up with another 10 machines coming, fantastic. Because that just means that there's going to be on a monthly basis more and more and more and more demand coming into the buyback program. And eventually, because of the buyback program, there is no limit of how valuables the CSR plastic credits can become on the market.
It's scary exciting, the potential of the price. And that again, Jay, thank you so much for taking the time to explain all that and just fit all the pieces of the puzzle together for what we're all trying to seek is further clarity. So that leads really nicely into the next question about the credibility and the ecosystem and how we can strengthen it. As the momentum builds, many of us are eager to help elevate the CSR25's visibility globally. What would you say are some of the key steps or collaborations we, as participants, can assist the company with to help CSR25 be eventually listed on platforms like CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, or any other additional exchanges beyond what we have at the moment with LBank?
Well, thank you very much again for a great question. So we are at the moment basically just a very short period away from being listed on CoinMarketCap, and obviously the original CSR is already there. Now, this is something that we are working continuously. Obviously, when it comes to exchanges, we are offered to be listed on a number of exchanges. The way that these exchanges work, let me give you a little bit insight on this one. Most of the exchanges, you can list your token there as long as you pay for them for the listing fee. That's how these exchanges make money, right? So listing fees can range from $1,000 to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Okay. If you're in general, if the token, if the digital asset project is well established, with just paying enough money, you can pretty much get into any exchange which is not in the top 5. So let's say that even some of the top 10 exchanges you can get just with money. Okay. And of course, they want to look at back, real, they want to do their due diligence, but mostly it's about money. The question is, how much money are you willing to do? And then they will usually, as an exchange, they want to get a payment for the listing, and then they want you to give them X amount of tokens, which they can then sell and offload and make more money from. That's how these exchanges make money. Okay. Now, we are being offered every week. We get emails from different exchanges. Hey, we'd like to list you guys. We see you already here and here and here. We're not really at the moment interested of listing ourselves in multiple exchanges, in more exchanges. We want to be listed on the right exchanges. Okay. Now, ultimately, where we want to be and where I see us being is in all the top 5 exchanges. Okay. How do we get there? And what's the roadmap and what's the strategy on here? Yes, we might consider, if we think about, the marketing value and the credibility value, that we could pay for one of these companies. Once we are in that conversation, we could pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars as a listing fee. Maybe it's money well spent. At the moment, we haven't done that, simply because of the fact that we are putting as much resource as we can into the factories to actually buy these machines and build more oil and build the core business, and instead of just spending money to be on the listing. Now, my strong belief, and our strategy is built upon that, is that with actual end users, like these companies that I mentioned before, the Diversies and bigger consumer brands, like the companies that are already using other plastic credits, like Coca-Cola, like Nestle, like Unilever. For these companies, when they come in and they start using CSR and they start buying them from these exchanges, you tell me one exchange that doesn't want to have them as their client. So the reality is this: for an exchange to list CSR25, they don't need to ask our permission. They can just simply start trading it. And I believe that when we just keep on doing what we're doing and we bring these large consumer brands as a part of our delivery, we bring them involved and they are now using these exchanges. We don't have to pay anybody and we don't have to send a single application because they will automatically want to list the token. That's basically what we see happening on this. Obviously, if let's say that one of the top 3 exchanges would get in touch with us, and I can already tell you that they have get in touch with us. We have been contacted by, I'm not going to say which one, but the top 3 exchange already, and we are in talks with them. I'm not completely overriding the option that we could actually pay them and get in there by doing that. But ultimately, I believe that we are going to be in every single exchange out there just because we are what we are. We are a plastic credit, which companies are obligated to use, and they are going to need platforms where to buy them. And eventually, every one of these exchanges want to list them. Listen, I can tell you what the people from the exchanges are telling me. They love CSR. They are so happy to see that there is a digital asset which is based on something real, something concrete. And these guys are so tired of dealing with all of these meme tokens and squid game token and whatever bullshit scam, this and that. That's not the reason why they got involved in this industry. They love what CSR is and what does it represent. And eventually we're going to be listed on every single exchange.
Yeah, yeah. And we appreciate that ultimately that makes sense. That again, in the same way that the big oil companies and of course the big brands who are going to be up for all sorts of serious challenges if they don't engage us sooner than later. We don't have to go chasing things. They're going to be coming to us. I can certainly see what you're describing there. Okay, so just another question there. Are there any specific compliance milestones, audit processes, or third-party validations underway at the moment or planned that can further strengthen confidence for, like, say, institutional players, regulators, or major corporate partners?
Well, in terms of the regulations and compliance, we have also shared this file in our public chats and such, and I'm happy to send it over for you also to review. And it'll also be on our new website as well. But basically, what you can see, for example, here, this is our plastic waste removal standard and the actual verification protocol that we developed and launched earlier this year together with the company Control Union. So this actual protocol explains how the auditing is done, how the verification of the actual work behind every CSR plastic credit is processed, and it's developed together with Corsair in collaboration with Control Union. If you Google Control Union, you'll find out that they are a 100-year-old company from the Netherlands. They operate in more than 80 countries around the world, and they're one of the leading companies in the world doing industrial and quality certifications, everything from ISO certifications to ISCC certifications, and so on and so on and so on. And together with Control Union, we are now working in the process of auditing all of our plastic waste recovery. So I'm just going to share their website here as well. So this is definitely a very important collaboration partner for us. And you're going to hear more about them in the future. So basically, if you go to Control Union website, you will find information about them, what they do, and also, okay, here they are 104 years in 80 countries with 274 offices and laboratories. And basically that's what these guys do. So they are extremely excited to be with us in this field. And as I said, now together we have created this standard, which is now used for the auditing of the plastic waste. Now, as an extension of that, to answer your question, what we are developing with them at the moment as well is the second layer of the protocol, which is basically beginning to audit companies. So that when we have a company XYZ, who is using plastic in their packaging, we can basically then have the auditing protocol in place where we can send an auditor to work together with their team to verify the actual plastic waste footprint. So right now it's sort of a self-auditing and self-reporting, but we want to also bring in the layer of putting in an audit for that one. So we have an auditor that independently audits the plastic waste footprint and then also audits the amount of plastic CSR plastic credits, and then the company will go out to the market and buy exactly that amount. That's another layer. The third layer, which we are developing right now, has to do with number of industries. And that is, for example, something that we are going to be introducing shortly for the real estate industry. So, for example, companies and real estate developers that are building condominium buildings, apartment buildings, shopping centers, schools, whatever, office towers, those companies can calculate and have audited the plastic waste footprint of that particular new building. Think about a new building. How much plastic goes into an apartment building with all of its piping, insulation, everything that goes, including the packaging that was used to bring in all the construction materials. These are all part of the plastic waste footprint of that building. What we are working together is to create this standard where a building can become plastic neutral on the day of its opening. So when there's a grand opening of a new condominium building or an office tower or a school or a factory, whatever, they can say, yeah, out of all the other great things we've done, we're also plastic neutral. So, I mean, that's a huge market.
Yeah.
I mean, you just think about how many new condominium buildings are building around the world every year. All right. That's just one sector of that. Now, finally, then we come to the point, how can all of us be part of this? And for that, we are going to introduce later this month or latest by next month, we're going to introduce a way how the Amplivo partners can actually introduce companies, businesses, small and large, into the plastic neutrality. And the way that this is done is that a company that comes in can basically buy 50% of their needed plastic credits from the open market, exactly how they would do right now. They pay their Nothing comes to Corsair. It all goes to the old clients who are selling their credits. They buy the credits and they go and offset them. They retire them. But the other 50%, they could buy that one from you by buying a package from you where, as long as they can show their retirement for the first 50%, they don't have to wait the 18 months, but instead they get their credits right away and they can retire them immediately. So that means that now you can bring in companies that become plastic neutral, where you receive the commissions for 50% of the plastic credits that they need, and the other 50% they buy from the market. And by doing that, reducing the circulation and offsetting them. This is something that we're going to be introducing within this month or next month latest. And that'll be a great thing how everybody can participate to now start talking directly to companies, small businesses, medium-sized businesses. You can go out there and help these companies to become plastic neutral. And by doing that, getting more clients. We
I
know
love, I love
yeah,
speaking to small to medium enterprise businesses.
exactly. And we know for a fact that there is so many studies out there which show that if given the opportunity, if you have two products which are equally same, let's say you want to buy a cup of coffee or a bottle of water, whatever, and you know that the price is almost the same and the taste is almost the same. If you knew that this company is doing something good for the environment and this company is not, which one are you going to choose?
Yes.
It's that simple.
Yes.
You know that more than 80% of the consumers would pick the one that is doing something good for the environment. So any company that is putting in a very small amount of money, because ultimately, unless you are creating billions of kilos of plastic every year, we're talking about peanuts. This is a fraction of their marketing budget. But the visibility that they get and the customer commitment and the customer recognition that the company can get when they can say, hey, we are the good guys. We are here cleaning the planet. Those guys are not. That money that they spend, if it's 100 euros a year or 1,000 euros a year, it is probably the best dollars that they've ever spent in advertisement and marketing. And that's why whenever you see that, hey, there's a company that's now using CSR Plastic Credit, we as a part of the Amplivo network, we have to go and shout to the world, hey, we love diversity. We love Joyella cheese. We love this company. We love that company. And also then make sure that we buy those products every time when we go to the supermarket. Because we've gotten the feedback from our existing partners that they've seen the increase in sales. So if they can do, if we have more and more and more testimonies from our customers who use the CSR plastic credits, they say, hey, we saw a 10% increase in our sales after we started implementing the plastic neutral label. But what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I love it. That's incredible. And Jay, this leads into my third last question. I know that maybe perhaps some of our guests also maybe have some questions, but I have just three more to ask for myself for more insights. And this next question will lead nicely into what you've already started moving in this direction regarding the US market and opening up in the US market for Corsair. What have you found some of the most important drivers of credibility and trust for American business and government partners so far?
Well, the USA is moving along with regulatory things very much to the same direction with the rest of the world, which you might think is a bit surprising. Some people are surprised for that because they are in the belief or in the understanding that, for example, Trump doesn't support environmental things or anything to do with anything to do with environment, but actually that's not the case. Let me show you something here. Just a second, please. I'm just pulling up my.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Here. Okay. So here is, for example, a bill called the Steward Act of 2025, which is a bipartisan bill saying here to establish a pilot grant program to improve recycling accessibility, to require the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency to carry out certain activities to collect and disseminate data on recycling and composting programs in the United States and for other purposes. Basically, as per ChatGPT, when I asked ChatGPT to give a summary on the topic, it basically means now that because of this, they are starting to build a let me see if I can find that one here. Okay, so the Steward Act consolidates two prior legislative efforts. Let me read this. There is a impact on the plastic recycling industry. The Steward Act is poised to significantly influence the plastic recycling sector by enhanced recycling access, by funding infrastructure projects. The Act aims to increase recycling rates, particularly in areas currently underserved. Data-driven improvements. Standardized data collection will help identify inefficiencies and opportunities within the plastic recycling process, and then industry support. Major corporations and trade associations, including PepsiCo, Unilever, General Mills, and the US Chamber of Commerce, and the National Association of Manufacturers, have expressed strong support for the Act, highlighting its potential to drive economic growth and environmental sustainability with plastics. Okay, so again, another example of how things are just aligning exactly where we are going with this. And if you just Google the Steward Act or put it in ChatGPT, you can find yourself. On top of that, another interesting thing for you to maybe keep an eye on is another website called Plastic Litigation Tracker. This website actually lists all of these existing current lawsuits that are happening at this moment regarding plastic waste. So here you will find updates about, for example, how, well, different companies like ExxonMobil or Coca-Cola, or like here, ExxonMobil was sued by the state of California for decades-long deceiving of the market, claiming that plastics are recyclable, where as part of this lawsuit, they are saying that actually plastics are not recyclable, which we obviously know that they are recyclable. And that's why, well, I don't want to say too much about our conversations with Exxon, but we got something coming out shortly. Anyway, so just to show you where this is going, all right? There's something with Coca-Cola and Philips, and there's a number of pages. So there is a lot of regulatory things happening in the United States. And because of that, when we've gone in there and we've spoken and had meetings with these different city councils, they are the level of enthusiasm and the level of welcome that we're getting is overwhelming. They are currently competing with each other of who is going to get the first Corsair plant in the USA.
Love it.
And we have a situation where we have one city offering free land, another city offering free land and some tax benefits, the third city offering those two plus some other benefits. They really want us to come there. Why is that? Well, the primary reason is the following. The United States creates per capita the most amount of plastic waste in the world. The United States as a country generates more than 51 billion metric tons of plastic waste every single year. Okay, 51 billion was the latest projection from Greenpeace. And basically this 51 billion kilos ends up going mostly to the landfills. Back in the day, they would send a lot of that to China and they would pay the Chinese to bring it in. Now China doesn't want it anymore, like no other country wants it. That's why they're dumping it in their landfills. Now, anybody understands that if this 50 billion kilos could be converted into oil with a ratio of 1,000 kilos to 900 liters, for example, we're actually looking at about a $50 billion a year market, which right now is being dumped into the landfills.
Huge.
It's there. You don't even have to go and search for it. You can go and pick it up. You see these mountains of garbage or mountains of gold like I see them. And they're just there. You can just go, they're practically giving it away. In this case, they're paying you to take it.
That's incredible.
Okay? Now, why do these cities want us to come in? Because whenever there's a Corsair factory built in a certain city, we are coming in, keeping in mind, we are not a US company. We're a European company investing into the United States, which is exactly what Trump is trying to promote. Okay. Number two, we are there helping to clean up their plastic, clean up their landfills, clean up their environment. Number three, we're building them better infrastructure for future management. Number four, we are creating tens and tens of jobs. And number four, we're aiming to become a major taxpayer. And the best part, we're not asking the US government even $1 of support. They love us. They love us because we're ticking every single box in their agenda, especially with the Trump administration. They love this idea that foreign companies are now coming in, investing in there, cleaning up their garbage, building infrastructure, and creating jobs and paying taxes. I mean, whatever better there is to it. So I've been in the Capitol building. I've met with congressmen. I've met with mayors, with senators from all over the place, and we've submitted already to the highest levels of the government our action plan of developing initially 50 factories, one per state, and then I always add, and one more in the 51st state of Canada. and basically from that's our first point. But to give you guys an understanding, this is a fun little calculation. Think in your mind a number. How many factories? So one factory has 10 machines, produces about 10 million liters of oil per year, about $10 million in revenue. How many factories would we need in the United States to be able to process that 51 billion kilo of plastic waste per year? The amount of plastic that is produced next year. How many factories? So factories with 10 machines, whatever. Get a number in your mind. Is it 1, 50, 100, 500? 4,250 factories only in the United States would be needed in order for us to process the plastic that is being generated next year. With 4,250 factories, we wouldn't have capacity to touch any of the old plastic that is being generated in the last 50 years. Guys, there is nothing on this planet, there is nothing in the business world that has a bigger opportunity than this one.
I can see it.
And I say this often. If you can show me any business, any token, any coin, what the hell ever, show me one thing that has better potential for right now and for the next 30 years, because plastics are not going to go anywhere. This plastic waste problem is going to be here 50 years from now. Okay? Show me a better anything. And I guarantee I will sell my 80% what I own in Corsair. I will sell that tomorrow and I will invest every single last dollar into that business that you propose for me.
Yeah.
There is nothing.
No, there's nothing.
And I can tell you, I got involved with Bitcoin in 2013. I've been in this ride for a long time. Okay. So I've seen what's happening in the crypto market. I'm very, very aware of the development steps and what needs to go into to make this. There is nothing like this ever done before. So
yeah, Jay, thank you, thank you. And look, just again, this ties in very nicely into my last two questions, which I think you've kind of already answered. But again, I'll allow you an opportunity to, elaborate further if you need to. For people who are just now getting introduced to Corsair, to Amplibo, to this mission, and may still be on the sideline watching, what's your personal message to help them see why now is the best time to get involved?
well, let's say like this. Let's imagine that you are here for the first time today. You don't know me. You don't know this company. You hear about mentioning this and that. And obviously, we always advise you to go out and do your own research. And, if you get a chance, come over to Bangkok to visit our factory or Finland and see for yourself. Obviously, and I'll just show one more website here, and then we're done with the website sharing for today. But here is a good example. We obviously understand that, as I said before, we are a drop in the ocean. We are a small company, and our credibility increases every time when we associate ourselves with a bigger company. But if you think that, okay, who is this guy? What is he talking about? And is this for real? And are these guys for real? When you go out and you start talking with these big brands and these companies, we're talking about some of the biggest companies in the world. Before they actually allow you to publicly talk about your relationship with them, or they themselves talk about the relationship with you, they go through months, if not years, of due diligence and verifications. Before Shell allowed us to do public announcements, and keeping in mind, we've done 2 joint press releases with them, which is Google, Corsair, Shell, whatever, you'll find it. Before they allowed us to do that, they did 9 months of due diligence about us. And on top of the 9 months, they wanted to see 1 year of oil shipments arriving regularly in the agreed quality from our Bangkok facility to their Singapore facility. Only after 1 year of successful oil shipments and them wanting to buy these products and the trade-off that we did, only after that were we allowed to go out with our announcements. And today, if you go to shell.com and you go to this page here, this is from their chemical recycling, you can scroll down and you can see a link to our website and how in September 2024 in Europe, Shell and Corsair signed a supply agreement for pyrolysis oil from our Finland facility, which will then process in their European facility. And
excellent.
Again, yeah. So, I mean, the thing is that, okay, if you want to get a third-party verification that we're actually doing what we're doing, Shell doesn't put somebody's name and website into their website. You know what I mean? Okay, but let's forget that. Let's forget Corsair altogether. Here's my final thoughts for you. We can all turn off this Zoom, go back to our lives, forget everything that you heard here today. Never, ever mention the word Corsair or plastic credit or whatever. Never in your life. And I guarantee you, if we do that, everything I told you today is still going to happen. We are 100% completely insignificant in the bigger wheels that are turning. This is not about Corsair. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not about us. All of these things, these regulations and whatever is happening, they are happening 100% with or without us. And actually, I think that's great. That's the best part, because we are not in the driver's seat. We are a passenger, but we can be the guy sitting in the front seat, in the shotgun, right? We can be that guy, okay? And at the moment, we are in the epicenter, right in the middle of everything that's happening. And because of that, I believe we have truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, because trust me, in the next 30 years, plastics are not going to go anywhere. They will be more and more and more part of our lives, because production of new plastic is projected to triple from the 500 million metric tons today. This will triple over the next 30 years. So plastics are not going to go anywhere, but plastics are going to become recycled. This plastic waste problem will be sorted. I think it's going to take more than 20 years, probably 30 years. But ultimately, plastic waste will become a traded commodity, and it will be managed exactly the same way how metal or glass or paper is managed globally. It's not going to be garbage anymore. It's going to be managed exactly how they were. I still remember in the 1980s, me and my friends would walk around and collect glass bottles that people would throw into the ditches. And then we started collecting metal cans, and we would sell them in the stores. You can't find a glass bottle anywhere in the environment anymore. They don't go anymore. The metal, aluminum is recycled something like 98, 99% globally, right?
Yeah.
The plastic is recycled less than 5% globally. But it's only a matter of time that it's going to go there, because it has to. And the only way how that's going to be done is by putting monetary value on the plastic garbage, because then kids like I was in the 80s will go and pick it up. Because I know, hey, I can make some pocket money by collecting this plastic and selling it for someone like Corsair. So this is going to be done. It's going to be done with or without us. And there's going to be a trillion-dollar industry that will be created as a result of this. And there are going to be companies that are going to be worth billions and billions and billions of dollars. There's going to be multi-billionaires created. A large group of millionaires are going to be created as a part of this new economy. But it's not depending on us.
I remember you saying this the first time I heard this 10 days ago with the interview that you had with Magnus, and it has stuck with me. And thank you again for reinforcing it again during our discussions today with you, Jay. Jay,
Perfect.
what can I say? The goal for our session today was to give you a chance to share a few perspectives that go beyond what people may have already heard you say in other interviews and other material that's out there in the general public domain, to help us all continue to build confidence as active supporters of this mission. So, Jay, thank you once again for your time today and for sharing your leadership and vision with us. For those of us here live and for those watching this replay later, what we've heard today is not just information, but a clear window into the depth, the seriousness and the potential of what Corsair is building. It's not simply about earning, it's about being part of a solution to one of the biggest environmental problems of our generation, while creating long-term opportunity for those who choose to align with this mission. Jay, we appreciate your transparency and your leadership, and we look forward to doing our part in helping grow Corsair, CSR25, and this global cause in the months and years ahead. Before I wrap up and thank you and close out this Zoom, was there anyone that maybe perhaps wanted to just ask some final questions that we may have not already covered or that came up during this discussion today? Anyone? Now's your opportunity. Richard?
Hey, Richard here.
Mhm.
Richard,
Hey, how's it going, Jay?
thank you very much. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, Matt was on here as well. You met Matt before. Yeah.
Yes.
I have an observation. I think I just put it in the chat because I wasn't sure I was going to get a chance to ask a question. You show a lot of third world slums in the videos where there's not even any garbage collection. It's just there on the ground. Well, now a slum dweller can collect the plastic, create an income, and then directly be involved in the crypto market.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another issue, I've been done a little bit of research on the plastic, other methods or other processes for plastic recycling. I think I mentioned this to George. I don't know if he's talked to you about it, but I do have a chemical engineering background, as you know.
Right.
And I have one question. Could this be turned into a continuous process? Because I see a lot of manhandling of pouring the liquids in, right? Because there is a precedent, there's a catalytic process that makes it continuous, which could increase the production, who knows, 2, 5, 10 times as much as that. Have they done research on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Excuse me, there is a continuous development on this sort of continuous processing system. So what does that one mean for everybody else here? Is that basically when you see these reactors, these capsules, what we would do is we would fill them with plastic. The new machines that we have will hold up to around 9,000 kilos of plastic in one go. We would fill them up, we would close it. Now it's enclosed, and then we would begin the heating process. When we heat the plastic, we never burn it. There's no flame touching the plastic. But when we heat it like an oven, now that plastic begins to then convert and to transform into flammable gases and into smoke. Now, this is called a batch process.
Absolutely.
It would typically take about 24 hours, let's say an average. If the plastic is really dry and really clean, like we always try to have it, we can bring it down to even 18 hours. If it's been out in the rain, it's really wet, it could go over 30 hours. That's where the pre-processing is very important so that we don't have a lot of water going into the machine, because you understand that if you put water into the oven, what happens? The first hours, it's only steam coming out. It's not oil, it's not gas, nothing. It's just vaporizing that water. So basically, once the process has been processed, this 9,000 kilo has been processed, we will turn off the process, and then we will basically open up the reactor, do all the cleaning, maintenance, what we have, load up another 9,000 kilos and go for another round. This is the definition of a so-called batch system. Okay. Now, what Richard is referring to here is the so-called continuous system, where idea is that you don't have to stop it every 24 hours. You could just keep on going, right? Just feed on more plastic. Okay. And this is kind of like the holy grail of the advanced chemical recycling industry. I've heard many companies say that they got one. So far, I haven't seen one. And also, what works in a laboratory environment as a sort of a little tabletop machine, like a size of a lawnmower, is one thing. Once you build it up to the point where it's an actual operational thing, it doesn't anymore function exactly the same. So there are a number of scalability issues. We work together with who I actually think, and especially now have proven to be some of the best technology suppliers, companies called Huayin and Beston. And they both are working right now on their continuous systems. They have had good results. I want to be able to send one of my engineers to go over there and let's say two of them and sit next to that machine for a week and actually document what happens, how much downtime, how much problems, whatever. If I can supervise for a week and we can see that it actually works, no problem. I'm immediately in the queue to buy one of those machines. So again, from our part, as long as we, with all these technologies that we are being pitched, because we don't have our own technology, and we really don't want to even have one, because we're not in a machinery manufacturing business. We're in the running of factories business. So we use the best available technologies that are out there. Starbucks doesn't make their own coffee machines, or McDonald's doesn't make their hamburger grills. So if somebody comes up with a great new technology, we want to buy it, and we would obviously then start using that technology. So far, we still haven't seen one, but we already have now at our factory a semi-continuous system, which actually allows us to not to go down from the operating temperature, which are around 400-500 degrees, down to ambient temperature, but instead go to about 100 degrees. So it's kind of like you're driving a car 200 kilometers an hour. You don't have to go down to full stop. You can go to about 80 kilometers an hour. Then you feed up new plastic, and then you go again. So that's a sort of a semi-continuous system that we now have, and we'll be able to give more information. Sorry for the long answer.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Good question, and thank you for the answer as well. But look, again, this is Zoom Jay has gone on a lot longer than I expected. I had promoted a 30-minute meet and greet with you.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. We covered a lot of really great information, and I highly value your time and your transparency as always. And yeah, look, I know everybody that was here on this call or is watching this recording is going to walk away even more inspired and committed. I know I am. I had trouble sleeping the first time I heard about this company and this opportunity. I'm going to continue to have my sleepless nights moving and after what I've heard today. But yeah, we want to continue to support and stay committed to the growth of Corsair and the expansion of CSR25 worldwide. Jay, thank you again. I look forward to meeting you in person very soon. I'm planning to come to Bangkok as well to come and meet you and come and see the facilities with my own eyes. I was supposed to come in April, but I had some other things come up. But yeah, we look forward to working alongside you and carrying out this mission moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, everybody.
All right. Good night, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.